Right, okay. Oh, just give me 1 second here.
Yeah, might as well, let her rip.
Well, yeah, it seemed to get a lot of people
Okay.
than
I just want to find the other one that went with this one. There we go.
He's kind of got some dementia. Mike.
Yep.
Good evening. Hello? Good evening.
Well, not very long.
Am I talking to anybody but myself?
He owned a bunch of court shops
Good.
all over southern Iowa. And his name on his
Good evening, folks. It's 6:30 and we will begin our candidate forum. We will have Terry Reed address all of you.
Good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Ottumwa, I want to welcome all of you here tonight, our candidates, the media, and our audience, both in person and those who are viewing the forum on GoTV. Thank you to the candidates who are seeking to serve our city. We also want to thank the City of Ottumwa for allowing us the use of the council chambers, and a special thank you to Ed Wilson for posting the forum on GoTV and YouTube. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We do not support individual candidates or political parties. We do support issues that have been studied by our members and reached a consensus. An example of this is the state bottle bill passed in 1978 and modified in 2022. On the national level, we support women's rights. Our candidate forums are nonpartisan. We encourage questions about issues, but not supporting a person or a political party. If you wish to ask a question, please write it on a card and give it to one of our members. You must sign your name on the question card. And we have also allowed citizens to submit questions for this forum on our Facebook page. We will begin this evening with a question from the League and then move to audience questions, including the Facebook questions. Thank you for your attention and participation.
Good evening. My name is Jean Dell, and I will be the moderator this evening. Please all silence your cell phones. First, I would like to introduce our fellow League members who are making this forum possible. Our timer this evening is Carol Hoppert. She ensures that all candidates get equal time to answer questions. Terry Reed is our question reader. Our greeters and the members who will pick up your written questions are Kathy Courtney, Chris Moore, Mary Gaskell, and Carol Burnside. Our co-presidents are also here this evening, Sarah Selves and Peg Lazio. I will review for you the rules as well as for the candidates. All questions must be submitted in writing and they must be signed. We have accepted questions submitted on our Facebook page as well. Please note that the candidates are seated in alphabetical order. They will answer questions in a rotation so that no one is always the first nor always the last. Each candidate will have the opportunity to make a 2-minute opening statement. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question, and each candidate will have 1 minute to make their closing statement. League will ask the first question after the opening statements. We will begin with opening statements with Cyan Bosu.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all here tonight. I see some familiar faces from the first forum, so thanks for coming out again. I am Cyan Bosu. I am an Ottumwa native and a local small business owner. I'm also an educator at the Ottumwa High School. and I pride myself with already being an active community leader. I work every day with our students and our families, and I make it a point to understand my students' backgrounds and therefore understand the background of people in our community. And I think that gives some very valuable insight as a leader. I also am a firm believer that our leadership, not only council, but leadership all across in our community, should reflect the diversity and the demographics that we have here. And so I'm proud to be able to represent women and people of color and mothers and educators as a leader in our community. I look forward to all of your questions tonight and hearing insight from other people also running from council, and opinions and insight from you in the audience as well. So again, just thank you for being here tonight and becoming an informed voter and being an active member in our community. Thank you.
Mr. Cavanis, excuse me. Mr. Cavanis.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the League for hosting this forum. My name is Keith Cavanis. I am a candidate for Ottumwa City Council. Having previously served 4 terms on the City Council, I am familiar with the inner workings of our government and can step in ready to go day one. I am proud to have been a member of the City Council when many good things were accomplished. Things such as replacing old and outdated stoplights, requiring a lot of expensive maintenance, which were replaced with more cost-effective stop signs at various intersections, freeing up much-needed human resources and financial resources. While it took about 10 years to become the viable and beautiful venue that it is, getting Bridgeview Center completed and into operation was a vision to give Ottumwa a great place to gather, and is attracting more and more great talent as time goes on. Helping establish Walmart, Menards, the strip mall in the area, by getting water and sewer to them. These services were in exchange for allowing the city to annex this property, and the city's tax base was increased by several $1 million. Installing security cameras monitored by the police department improves public safety, as well as expanding and marketing Beach Ottumwa. I am currently a member of the Waterworks Board, where we have created a partnership with the city to coordinate work on streets to avoid duplicated construction. One of the most important things, or the foremost important things on my campaign, will be public safety, redoing streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cavanis. Mr. Damerl.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for showing up tonight. I didn't prepare anything. Sorry about that. I'm kind of fly by the seat of pants, and I am a small business owner here in Ottumwa, Iowa. I've lived in Ottumwa all my life. My family's lived here their whole life. Before I was a small business owner, I worked for Golden Eagle Distributing for 20 years, and I was all over Southern Iowa as a driver, supervisor, sales and marketing director for Golden Eagle. I made a lot of friendships, relationships all over Southern Iowa, in Ottumwa. I've worked with many people, many groups in Ottumwa, Iowa when it comes to celebrations and businesses in and out of bars, restaurants, convenience stores, grocery stores. I've seen a lot of change in Ottumwa over the years. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm very concerned about our budget, our spendings. As a business owner, I have to watch my budget, and I have to watch what I spend on an everyday basis. So that's something I think I can bring to the city council, on trying to watch where our money is going, where our taxes money is going, and make sure it's going to the right places. And streets is a major concern. I think it's a major concern for everybody in this town, is our city streets. And we need to concentrate on those and all of our other needs. And my parents always told me, focus on your needs and not on your wants. So thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Damerville. Mr. Hoffman?
Well, first off, I'm Bill Hoffman Jr. I've been a lifelong resident. I've lived here all my 53 years. And the first thing I'd like to do is thank everybody who came and thank the League of Women Voters for putting on a wonderful forum so all the candidates can discuss and share their ideas. Most of my experience comes from business. I worked for Walmart for 28 years as a salaried manager, where I've served a lot of you and served a lot of people in Southeast Iowa. I do have extensive training in budgets and planning. I am now a proud associate of Indian Hills Community College. I'm a safety and security officer, so I'm proud and to be there. A little bit about me. I think what I want everybody to know is I know there's a lot of concerns for Ottumwa. I know that there's a lot of pressing issues, and I just don't want to be someone who points at what's wrong and points to the past. I want to help build a positive team who makes executable plans to bring Ottumwa to the next level. Sometimes I think planning is easy. It's the execution. So I want to be part of that execution. I want to be part of city growth. I want to welcome diversity. I want to welcome more people to Ottumwa. This town is going to grow, and we have to grow with it. Now, with that being said, just like I said, one of the things I want to stand for is growth and create our back in the day experiences. The back in the day experiences for small business and downtown and Ottumwa are important to me. And absolutely we can move forward, and absolutely we can create those back in the day experiences so all of our families can enjoy what we had. So my goal is to make good executable plans so my kids and my grandkids can have just a better town and a positive town and a town to be proud of. So like I said, I've lived here 53 years. I'm passionate about this town. I love this town. I always have. And I want to be clear. I'm not a politician. I am a citizen. The best training to be a city council member, I believe, is to be a good, positive citizen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Before we go to questions, I'd like to make an announcement. For those of us who like to vote early and in person, will not be able to go down to the auditor's office tomorrow because the ballots have not yet arrived at the auditor's office. They may not be ready tomorrow. I would encourage you to call the auditor's office if you're going down to vote next Monday. Their number is 641-683-0020. And they can let you know when the ballots will be ready. Thank you. We will now begin with the questions.
We're going to begin with a question from the League of Women Voters. It is important to get information from a variety of sources. Would you talk to city employees and others to inform your opinion? Please elaborate.
We will begin with Mr. Cavanis.
Thank you, Gene. I think it's important to gather information from all sources. Of course, the city council has to work together to understand what their accomplishments might be, but to communicate with citizens in general, it's very important. They like to have input. They like to know what's going on, be informed of what the possibilities are. And there's lots and lots of things going on right now in our community, such as the preservation of the dam and other valuable information that everyone wants to know about. So because of that, I think it's important to gather information from all parts and all members of the city.
Thank you, Mr. Cavanis. Mr. Damerville?
Yes, as a business owner, I have an open door policy, and I do have a lot of city employees, county employees, just a lot of people that walk through my doors, and sometimes they do come and talk to me about things that's going on in the community and everything. I have a lot of them on my phone that I talk to them plenty of times on the phone, and me not being an educated politician, just a concerned citizen, I call some of them also, and I have people that I get information from because there are rumors going around about certain things in our community, and I like to go to sources that know what's going on in our community. So I can get the right answers. So, and just they come to me and we talk, and I see them out in public a lot because I'm out in public a lot with my business. So yes, I mean, I want to talk to all the employees. I talk to police officers all the time in my business for certain reasons. So yeah, I have a lot of friends that I consider them more than just city employees and public employees.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
So yes, absolutely. Every employee of the city or any organization is absolutely a gold nugget of information. Being a former leader of Walmart, the best ideas always came from associates. Me being a salaried manager, it's us they could do without. We can't do without the people who make things happen. So absolutely, I would communicate with the city workers, no matter what capacity and what department they're in. They're the ones running the town. They're the ones that do that job every day. And like I said, that is our biggest resource right there. Absolutely, I would talk to citizens, and I have, about some things that are going on right now that's been pointed out. I would utilize every resource. However, I just want to stress that the employees and the people who actually do the work and make things happen are vitally important. The best ideas are going to come from them.
Thank you. Ms. Basu?
Absolutely. As an educator, I also value and appreciate the ability to be heard by my admin and the people that come up from higher than me than in the classroom. And so to extend that right and that privilege to other people that work in our city is absolutely essential. They're working with our community every single day, and they have valuable insight and can offer us knowledge that we don't always have as leaders. I think sometimes we forget that, our city staff are also citizens. We're always so eager to listen to our citizens and all the concerns that we hear on the streets or on Facebook or wherever, but we forget that the people who work here in City Hall and across the street in the courthouse are also citizens and have concerns and insight as well. And so anything that I can do to create that collaboration piece within all of our government agencies and staff and leadership only promotes betterment to our community. And I hope that people do see me as someone who's willing to listen and involve multiple opinions and come to consensus on a lot of the issues that we face in our community. So thanks.
Thank you.
The next question comes from our Facebook page, and it's from Elle. How have you or will you familiarize yourself with the city departments?
We will begin with Mr. Damerville.
I will familiarize myself with the city departments by going and seeing them. And I kind of have a little bit of experience with that with some of the department people that I know and some of the city employees that I know. But I have no problem going and seeing them. They can come see me and go from there. Communication's the best thing. Transparency, that's what we need a lot in our government, is transparency. And we seem to don't get that anymore, where, how should I say this? Things are kind of hidden from the community sometimes. I shouldn't say hidden all the time, but people don't get informed all the time about what is going on in their community. I know the city has a website, the city has a Facebook page, but I have some ideas about some other stuff for more transparency within our community so that everybody can communicate together. So.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Well, I've already started to familiarize myself with some of the city departments. Obviously, I'm familiar, with waterworks and with the city. However, I've already made appointments and sat with people who work in different departments. We're actually the workers who do the work every day. I wanted to learn how the departments work, what the departments were, and I've made myself a list of the same questions. So when I speak to them, to truly help move the city forward, to truly help a department improve, I want to understand it. So I am not afraid to go talk to them or make appointments with them and involve them in planning and involve them in my questions. I have got so many questions and such a great education just speaking with people who do the work. And I've had a fantastic time speaking to people from some of the departments, and I do have some appointments with other people in the departments. And, I want everybody to know I'm not afraid to be the dumbest guy in the room, meaning I'm not afraid to ask questions. I don't know everything. That's how I learned. So my advice to anybody is when you're investigating, when you're researching, be the dumbest person in the room. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to get things explained. Like I said, every department's been pretty welcoming to me and have shared information and answered my questions to keep me more informed. So I appreciate them all. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Basu?
In my efforts to educate myself in my run for city council, I've also sat down with different departments and different leadership in our community, in our leadership in our city. One of the things that you can do most to go around to the different departments is to just make yourself available and reachable and to extend your hand to them and say, hey, I value you. I want to know what's going on in your department. I want to be able to be a good leader for you. How can I be reachable? How can I be understandable? How can we collaborate? You really have to extend that hand to people and show them that you are willing to be a leader that listens to their concerns and takes their consideration. Whoever does end up on city council also, has to join different committees within our government, and you have to choose to be involved and find areas where you feel like you can be productive. And one of the ways that you can do that is by going to those different departments first and seeing where you fit and seeing who needs help and who feels like they're not being heard, and intentionally insert yourself into those places in your community so that you can promote betterment from within. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cavanis?
I think it's important, and my experience in the past tells me that I need to go talk to the administrator and the mayor and get a little information from them before I go out into different departments. They need to tell me some are running smooth, some need a little help, some have questions about one thing or another. And I think it's important to have that information before you go jumping into a department and asking questions. Although most of them are very friendly and willing to provide information to you, it's important that you have questions that are viable for them. You've got to ask the right questions in order to get the right answers. I think it's very important from their standpoint that you are interested enough to come visit with them. They want to have input. They want to know what we are, the council, are thinking so that they can help to have input. It's really, really a working relationship, and it has to work both ways. I think it's very important that you get a feeling for every department and each and every person running the department, sometimes even talking with the employees in the department. All those things are very important in order to get a working relationship with your staff.
Thank you.
The next question is from John. Why do you think bringing new factories to town is off the table?
Mr. Hoffman, you may begin.
To understand a question, why do we think that bringing new factories to Ottumwa is off the table? I don't think it's off the table. In fact, I would support bringing factories or any business to Ottumwa. So I guess I'm not sure. I don't believe that that's off the table. We want to grow the town, so we definitely want manufacturing. We want business. Manufacturing is actually 49% of the business in Ottumwa. So I guess I don't understand off the table. So, all I can say is I would support business. I would actually go out and entice companies to come. I want to be on the front lines. We have a lot of small business in Ottumwa, and with my experience in big box retail, there are tools and there are plans where these big businesses we're getting for retail and manufacturing can be a great treasure to the small business. They can coexist, and the big guys can help the little guys grow. There's plans in place, and I'm experienced in those plans. And So to me, no business is off the table. We want to put the open sign up on Ottumwa. If you're a business and you want to come and you want to serve the best people there are, then you come right here to Ottumwa and we're going to accommodate you. So no business is off the table to me.
Thank you. Ms. Basu?
I guess I wouldn't necessarily say that another manufacturer would be off the table or off limits. 50% or so of our workforce comes from JBS in the school. So we already are employing a large amount of people through manufacturing. Maybe a better avenue would be to look for different kinds of workforces so that we can broaden the type of jobs that are available here in Ottumwa and making that, our economy expand. You really do need to be strategic in the type of businesses that you're bringing into your community. What do you want your community to be like? Do we only want to be a manufacturing city, or do we want to have other kinds of qualified job opportunities available to people who are looking to move to Ottumwa? So not necessarily that it's off the table, but maybe more that we need to be strategic in the businesses that we are bringing into our community. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Cavanis?
Well, I think it's important to decide what you call a big business. There was a time when the small businesses were 6, 8, 10 employees. Now we would think that a small business might range up 50 to 100 employees. Still a small business in relationship to John Deere, JBS, the bottling works, even the hospital. Hospital, I think, is our sole largest employer in the community. Most people don't realize that. It's very important that you keep your mind open and welcome any business that wants to come to Ottumwa. It's all about a quality of life. And when we show them what we have to offer, our parks, our water park, our walking trails, things of that type, those have been expanded greatly in the last 10 years. That helps to bring people who want to live in Ottumwa into Ottumwa and bring their businesses with them. I think there's nothing that's off the table. Everything is on the table. You just have to decide what you can entice and what you can bring into the community.
Thank you. Mr. Damerville?
Can you please repeat the question?
Why do you think bringing new factories to town is off the table?
I personally don't think it's anywhere off the table. The biggest problem with any new business coming into Ottumwa, being manufacturing, being retail, being anything like that. And I do want to commend our city and GoPip on bringing in some of the new businesses that we have here in town. But like I said, one of the main problems is I'm in business is finding the employees that actually want to work. That is the biggest problem that we have going, and it's everywhere. But the other problem on the side of finding employees is also paying them a good wage. And I've learned that in my business that you cannot pay your employees a minimum wage. You have to pay them a good wage to actually get employees in there and to keep good employees in there. And I have a lot of good employees now, and I'm keeping them by paying them very good wages for my type of business. So we need to bring in all kinds of businesses, big retail, manufacturing, whatever we can get. And I just hope we can get the employees to work those jobs. Thanks.
Thank you.
The next two questions are related. If you are elected, will you do everything in your power to show up to every meeting? And do you think the city council should vote on things when council members are missing? If they go ahead and vote and it's a tie, the missing persons vote as a no.
We will begin with Cyan.
the commitment to sit on city council is obviously very large. And so, yes, you should be prepared to take on that commitment and those responsibilities and show up to the meetings as much as possible, if not every single time. Obviously, there are things that come up in your personal life. I know that council members now have had illnesses and family celebrations and family members pass away. And of course, we have to be considerate of those things. When city council members are gone and we are voting on things, especially important things in our community, there are certain times when, yes, the council can choose to say, let's halt on this vote and let's do this another time. But there's also always the opportunity to bring that vote back around and make that recommendation to put that on the next agenda and vote again. I think sometimes you really should look at what it is that you're voting on and the severity of it. Of course, some things are going to be weighted heavier than others. And so if you feel like you truly need your entire council to make a quality vote and a quality decision on that, then look into bringing that vote back up. And of course, yes, be responsible and do your part as a leader to show up and take on the extreme responsibility that is being a city council member. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Cavanis?
Well, of course, being elected to a city council position is a job, and pretty much a full-time job. You have lots of research that you have to do, and you have to work on coordinating with other members. You cannot have a meeting illegally with 2 or 3 other people, but you can occasionally meet at work sessions and visit about things that need to be accomplished. It's pretty important that you understand the quorum in our city council. 3 people have to be present at least in order to have a meeting. There's no good excuse, in my opinion, short of death or some extraordinary occasion, for the council not to show up for their job. But if they don't show up for their job, the administrator should know beforehand that they are not going to be present. If the administrator determines that there are not at least 3 members to be present, he should, in my opinion, cancel the meeting. You can't conduct business with less than 3 members of the council. Pretty important to take your job serious and show up on time.
Thank you. Mr. Damerville?
Yes, 100% of the time I would be at the meetings, unless, like he said, death, sickness, or something like that. I wouldn't be running if I wasn't planning on being at every meeting. I mean, that's part of the job. I mean, why run for city council if you're not going to be there? You know, when it comes to the voting and everything, I've watched plenty of it in here in the room when I've been here at city council meetings. I've watched it on the internet and I've seen it to where they do table items until, you know, there's enough people there to vote on it. So anybody can make that motion to table it, and then you can put it off till the next meeting when there is the right amount of people there or everybody is there. So yeah, that's 100% of the time I will be here no matter what. So yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Well, I actually take this one kind of to heart. You know, as of the 2020 census, there's 25,175 reasons. 25,175 reasons why city councilmen need to show up. This job is not about coming when you want to. If you don't realize that this isn't a 4 day a month job, you shouldn't even be up here. I cannot think of anything that shows more disrespect to the city of Ottumwa than an elected official not showing up for their job. Now, I understand things come up. I understand there's emergencies, there's medical emergencies. Those are all different. The ones who sit up here work for you. And if they don't show up to work for you, they're doing you no justice. It's a disrespect. You know what? I understand what I'm getting into. I know that this could be 40, 50, 60 hours a week, but I'm making you that promise. That's why I'm sitting here. I don't think these guys would even be sitting here if they didn't understand that that was the case. So When somebody doesn't show up, it costs the city time and money, and it's embarrassing to the citizens. It's embarrassing when not all your elected officials show up. I mean, I feel strongly, and I'm not putting anyone down. I'm not pointing any fingers. I don't do that. I just feel strongly that this is an important position. This is an important person up here. The people who work up here work for you, and they should show you respect by being here and making the tough decisions that you elected them to make. I don't believe in canceling meetings. I believe in being here.
Thank you.
And that previous question was from Kathy. The next question is from Rick. If elected to council, what will your three top priorities be driving your first 90 days in office?
We will begin with Mr. Kavanagh.
Thank you. My top 3 priorities in my first 90 days will be streets, streets, and streets. Simple as that. Finance will follow that closely. But we have got to pick on some things that need to be picked on, and we've got to make them happen. We can't accept excuses. We can't have somebody tell us that we don't have the money. Pardon me, folks. We need to find the money. We need to look at the budget. We need to know what we can cut and what we can shave and figure out how to work on our streets. I don't hear anything more from the public than, what are you going to do about streets when you finally get there? Well, streets, streets, and streets.
Thank you. Mr. Damerville?
Well, Keith kind of took my words out of my mouth there. So, streets are very important. What I would like to do with streets, and in the beginning, especially since we have a City of Ottumwa Facebook page, I would like to see a City of Ottumwa Streets and Infrastructure Facebook page. I've done a lot of research on the website. There is, what is it? The CIP program, Community Improvement Projects, that I was reading into some of the city website where there really hasn't, there's a fiscal year 2015, fiscal year 2017, fiscal year 2019, but there is no fiscal year 2021, fiscal year 2023 for city streets. There's a lot of information on the website of streets that have been done in 2020, 2021, but what we need that Facebook page for is to let all the people that are complaining about the streets know what's happening in the future of the streets. We need transparency and to let them know. And I learned one thing with the waterworks, that when they go around fixing mains in Ottumwa, that's not the city's responsibility to fix those holes that are covered with gravel. That is the waterworks' responsibility.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Well, you know, and I believe in streets as well. And streets is a big issue in Ottumwa. And I would dig into that, and I would plan, and I would want to make plans to speed up street repair. However, there's some other issues I'm concerned about too. Risk and safety. Do we have enough firemen? Do we have enough policemen? Because we do have quite a few crimes. We have some, a drug problem in this town. And I'm not saying that to put anyone down. We all know we have a drug problem. And we have men and women working on the street hard that keep that crime under control. So risk and safety, everybody wants a good, safe place to live. And everybody, as much as everybody wants good streets to drive on. The other one is communication. And you know what? I admit it. Over the last few weeks, I've learned a lot about communication. I've learned to over communicate. So maybe that was one of my flaws. Maybe, that I learned something well. So I know I need to over communicate, but I believe that is an issue we need to tackle. So I guess to answer that question, risk and safety, communication, and just overall standards of living. Everybody wants a nice town to live in. Everybody wants a good looking town to live in. So standards of living, and streets for me come under standards of living, which is important, which includes housing, which includes job and workforce. It's all important. It all has to work together. We all have to see the big picture. So, I agree with the importance of the streets and the other things I've stated. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Basu?
Yes, everyone is always very, very concerned about streets. And, I'm blessed to live on a street that is in great repair. And I can imagine what it would be like to live on a street that's not. But I do have to give our city credit. We are in the top 5 cities in Iowa for our street repair work. Right now we are putting a lot of that money towards our sewer system. That's a state mandate. But in the first 90 days, some of the things that really have to be the first concern is setting our budget for the year, because January to March, that's a lot of the work that a city council person does. And so your main focus should really be towards that. What are the things that our money needs to go to first, such as, housing and, all the different facets that come with setting your finances for the entire year. But definitely housing, we need at least 50 or so units every 5 years, I think, to accommodate our growing population, which of course could change at any point in time because we continue to grow every single day. And so definitely a focus on housing and a focus on collaboration and including all kinds of voices in our community as we, set those standards for the rest of the year. You really have to hit the ground running as a council person when you are looking at setting the budget for the year and also beginning to, dip your foot into some of those committees and different things that you have decided would be the best fit for you as a leader. So thank you.
The next question is from Jerry and a related question from Mary. Alliant Energy has recently announced that they will increase our residential electric rate by 7% this year and 5% in the next year. Will you assist the opposition to this increase as a city council person? This increase is above the 3% city franchise fee.
Mr. Damerville, you may begin.
Well, for a business, it's 10% the first and 20% the second round. So yeah, we need more people to show up at those Alliant Energy, energy meetings and everything. That's what we need. Just like, it was this week, we had the Waterworks Board meeting. Well, it was Tuesday night, and there was quite a few people there. I showed up for it because we wanted some information and everything on that. But that is the big thing, and I will stand right beside them about the Alliant Energy pricing and everything, because I know everybody is struggling with bills, utilities, food, with inflation and everything. And we all need to come together and attend those meetings and speak, and not just attend those meetings, but also, communicate with other people at the state level, and that way to get your voice out there. We need more people to get their voices out there. You can email, you can send letters, you can make phone calls. That is just transparency. We need more transparency.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Yeah, absolutely. I would stand out and help to try to block some of those raises. We all know that with inflation costs and everything going up, even if a simple bill goes up $10, to some people, that's what they have left at the end of the month. And, looking at numbers, I mean, like I said, the last census, we had 25,379 people, which actually in Ottumwa, and I'm just talking about Ottumwa, we have a 16% poverty rate, which is actually 44% higher than the state of Iowa. So, I could not sit idly by while we keep raising things like that. In fact, on the Waterworks, being on the board of directors, we actually agonize over even little increases that we have to pass on to the customer, and every one of those is talked about. So, when we're talking about major increases like that, we got to realize with such a high poverty rate and with people living paycheck to paycheck, any little raise, any little bump in a bill could be devastating for a family. I mean, we already have a high homelessness rate, and we already have a high near homelessness rate. And if you take the near homelessness rate, and you keep adding little things on, $10 is snacks for a kid's lunch. You raise a bill $20, that's supper that's all people have for supper sometimes. So you're darn right. I'd be out waving a flag trying to help block those increases.
Thank you. Ms. Basu?
Absolutely. We need to be advocates for our citizens and our community. Alliant Energy is the only energy source that we have, and for them to continue to raise those rates on our citizens is absolutely not fair. I think about some of the students that I have in my classroom, and we just finished a unit talking about their American experiences, and the things that you learn about families in our community is just astonishing. The amount of students that I have that work every single night at JBS until like 4 a.m. is astonishing. And then to think about raising simple things like electricity bills on those families it is heartbreaking, because our families are already struggling. Our poverty rates are growing every single day. Our homelessness numbers are comparative to Des Moines. And we don't even have half the population of Des Moines. That's so upsetting as an educator, as someone who works with children and families every single day. So we as leaders have to be advocates for all people in the community, regardless of if they come and advocate for themselves or if they even know how to advocate for themselves. We have to take that step and come to those meetings when they don't and be advocates for them. I cannot stress that enough, especially thinking of my students' faces right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cavanis?
Well, I've attended several of those meetings over the years where they have asked for additional monies to put on my bill, your bill. They're not dummies. They know that if they ask for a dime, they'll probably get a nickel. So they ask for more than they want, so they'll be sure that you feel good about attending the meetings. But I would not discourage one person from attending those meetings, because they think they do represent our community and our citizens and how they feel about their electric bill. I have a famous little saying, my wife doesn't always approve of this, but Jesse James rode a horse and robbed banks. Today, Jesse James sells kilowatts and robs you. So that's the way I feel about it. And occasionally Jesse James rides in a natural gas horse too, but mostly the electric. So everybody that can show up should, but don't expect more to come than half of what they're asking, because they'll get it every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
We have related questions from Stephen and Sherry Lynn. The city has an obligation to be responsible stewards of the taxpayer funds that are paid to the city. And our city council should have transparent and frequent financial reports. How will you first ensure accountability and transparency of those funds and reports? And perhaps most importantly, that those funds are spent in a way that benefits all citizens of Ottumwa.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman?
Well, first off, transparent. We have to be transparent with all of our budget and all of our money. And that means including citizens in the way we spend our money. That means being transparent and sharing information. That also means that if you're a council member and you're not getting information you need in a timely manner, you need to demand that information. And I want to know where that information is. Now, I understand some departments may struggle a little bit. Some departments may need to catch up. However, the time frame I think sometimes we take is a little too long. That doesn't make people bad people. It just means that we need that information. So as a councilman, I would demand that information and I would share that information with the public. Now, would you like every decision I made financially? I know I work for you. I can't promise that. I don't want to lie to you. I would hope you would vote for me because you trust me to make the best decisions and share the information with you. And that's what I ask. However, transparency, and when you don't have the information, demand the information. The city council has the right to have the information to pass along to the citizens that we work for. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Basu?
Can you repeat the question, actually?
Certainly.
Thank you.
The city has an obligation to be responsible stewards of the taxpayer funds that are paid to the city. Our city council should have transparent and frequent financial reports. How will you first ensure accountability and transparency? And most importantly, that the funds are spent in a way that benefit all citizens of Ottumwa?
Thank you. We already have, I believe it's 3 audits a year. I could be wrong. So, we are putting money in auditing ourselves as a city. Now, whether or not we're transparent beyond this room is a different story. Being transparent to your community also means being understandable to your community. Not everyone is going to understand what a city budget looks like and entails. And so it's our job to make that information understandable to all of our citizens. We do need to update some things in our finances. We are behind on some of those things. And so as leaders, it is our job to go to those people and say, hey, we need to ensure that this is getting done so that we know how much money we have now, how much money we can spend later. We're setting our budget in January. These things need to be up to date. They need to be done. We need to be prepared. Finances are not something that you just do as you go. No, you have to be proactive, you have to plan, and you need to be prepared for those things. Looking at our past audits, looking at the things that need to be done in our community, absolutely, we need to be more transparent with our funds. We need to be transparent with how we've audited our city funds already, and look forward and be proactive in how we spend those funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cavanis?
Ladies and gentlemen, the city of Ottumwa right now is running rampant no place. The city has not seen a financial statement for several months. Our year end was June. The council is responsible to demand a statement every month. That demand goes to the administrator. If the administrator cannot produce that statement, he needs to get rid of the person who's in charge of finance, the accountant. And I would accept no word other than yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. We will produce a statement and we will review it on a regular basis. We will start with a zero-base budget, meaning we start at the bottom and we work our way up to the top, determining which items can be increased or decreased or maybe stay alone by themselves. It's important, if we're going to run a business, we got to know what kind of money we have and what we're doing with it. Right now, we're flying by the seat of our pants, and that's no way to fly.
Thank you. Mr. Damerville?
I'm a businessman and I have to look at what I spend every day. I have vendors come into my store every day. They're trying to sell me stuff every day of the week. Okay. So I'm not afraid to tell somebody no. Okay. If we can't afford it, if I can't afford it in my business and it doesn't fit in with my business, then I'm going to tell them no. And we need to watch our budget and get, when it comes to, this real money and budgets is a big thing to me. Okay. It's because that's what makes my business run. If I overspend like the government does, then my business doesn't survive. Okay. It fails. I can't have too much money out there in product. I have to have enough money to pay for product every day. So the budget is the most important thing, and the city council has to help control that and not overspend. Like I said, I say it all the time, needs are more important than wants. We have to take care of our needs, not our wants.
Thank you.
What new and fresh ideas do you think that you can bring to a young and growing council that is after already, I'm sorry. This is a more directed to one person. I misread the question. What is your opinion on the situation at our municipal course? And this is from Sherry Lynn. our municipal golf course?
Thank you. You know, our golf course has been run phenomenally for years, and I appreciate all of the efforts that have been going on there. We're looking for someone new to take over the contract with our golf course. I think a lot of people are assuming that we're going to sell that land, and I don't really think that that's the plan from the city. The plan is to bring someone in to take over that contract and run the golf course as a community golf course. I've heard that there's an RFP that will be going out to look for someone else to take over that contract. Personally, I think that we should extend the contract of the golf course with the family that's been running it so well for so many years, and keeping that within our community and promoting families within our community. I think the golf course has been a wonderful asset, and I look forward to seeing its growth in the coming years as the current leadership looks to retire. Thank you.
Mr. Cavanis?
I think I was on council when we finally got rid of the council operating a golf course, and they operated the golf course about as effectively as a shoestring. It was terrible. So ultimately, we did decide to lease contract the golf course to another person. He has done a phenomenal job, and his son Adam has helped him run that course. And Adam is willing to, from what I understand, take over the contract for the golf course and continue to operate it the same as it has been. I would approve that 100%. That also takes the city off the rolls to buy the equipment, because Adam is going to buy that equipment from his father if the council approves on a contract. So there's no way that we should ever think about selling that property. It is a quality of life issue that is very big in our community and is noted from outside our community. And I think it's all we can do is just do the best we can with the management that will continue to operate.
Thank you. Mr. Damerville?
I was at the meeting that they had here at City Hall for when they were talking about the whole Cedar Creek golf course and everything. And I listened to some of the opinions of people, and we don't need to lose the golf course. We don't need to sell the land. We need to keep it the way it is. I know a number, I can't remember the exact number, but I think the number was around $550,000, $560,000 to purchase all the equipment and everything. Personally, to save the taxpayers money, and if we extend the contract and have Adam run the golf course, that would save the taxpayers so much money. Plus, we wouldn't have to find somebody to lease it. And I've talked to one of my friends that is in the golf cart business. And if we weren't to purchase that and we didn't have somebody in line to take it over, like Adam, golf carts are a major problem to get in today's world. They're about a year to 18 months out to get golf carts. And I know golf carts isn't all the equipment, but what I'm saying is that it would extend the contract with Adam, save the city money from buying the equipment and possibly not having somebody come in to lease it. You know, then we're out $560,000 with a golf course that we got to find somebody to run it, and we got to spend that money in the wintertime when the golf course isn't operated, and it's harder to get somebody to come in and lease a golf course in the wintertime.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Well, and we have to have a plan either way. I just actually talked to Greg today, and we talked on the phone because there were some things I confused about too. And I understand that the way it works out there is he leases it and he's responsible for everything, and his son is willing to take it over. We get 50 cents per round of golf, which equals to about $10,000 a year. So that's revenue that the city has. Of course, we would want to lease it to his son if we were able to, because we already have experience running the golf course, and that golf course is just as iconic as other things in Ottumwa. On the flip side, if that was not possible, the $550,000 for the equipment, I understand everybody's fear of an off-budget purchase, but there's a such thing as good debt and bad debt. When an off-budget, consumer debt is bad. When an off-budget expense comes that's going to pay you 20 or 30%, that's not necessarily a bad way to go in credit. So if we did have to buy that equipment at $550,000, I did the research on some of that equipment. Keep in mind that some of that it would be $900,000 to purchase that $550,000 if we didn't release it or if we didn't buy the equipment. So, picture in your mind, if we didn't lease it, his son, they took all their equipment. We have land, we have another place now sitting there not being used. And it's going to cost us 40% more to replace that well-maintained equipment, because we all just said it was beautiful. That beautiful means well-maintained equipment. So I think we should lease it to him. However, I just believe we should have a plan both ways so we're not surprised.
Thank you.
Atumwa is working, this is from Brenda. Atumwa is working towards a more positive future. What role do council members have in addressing property owners who display banners or flags that detract from that goal?
Mr. Cavanis?
I'm going to ask to have you read that question again. I was a little confused about where we fit into private property. Can you tell me about that?
Well, that may be part of your answer. It says, Atumwa is working towards a more positive future. What role do council members have in addressing property owners who display banners and flags that detract from the goal?
Thank you. I think, first of all, you have to understand that private property is private property. If someone is breaking a regulation stated by the city, then the city needs to approach them and ask them how they can work it out so that they're not breaking a rule or a law. But I think our community is not badly draped with signs and things of that type that are distracting from our community. Unless you want to talk about political signs and garage sale signs and things like that, that's just another deal. But political signs usually are pretty short. Garage sale signs are all summer long. Well, anyway, I think there is some kind of ordinance that they can't nail them to a telephone post, but that's an ordinance the telephone company puts up, not the city. So I think there are some things that could be reviewed regarding signage in our community, and I would be willing to take a look at that.
Thank you. Mr. Demerville?
When it comes to signs, banners on personal property, and you talk about negative and positive, a negative to somebody could be a positive to somebody else. I mean, it comes to personal property, and as a city council member, I wouldn't want to overstep my boundaries, because I would want to go to the police chief about something like that. And especially if a concerned citizen came to me, go to the police chief about that and see what we could do about that if it's a big concern of the community. I mean, I understand there's some stuff that is too far extreme on stuff and doesn't need to be displayed, but I couldn't go to that citizen as a city council member. Like I said, I would talk to the police chief, talk to the police officers, and see where we could go from there.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Well, I cannot help but believe this will be the toughest question asked all night. I believe we get into a situation right there. It's because what's offensive, what's not, is some people's perception. And I want to be transparent. I want to be honest with anybody, so I'm not out to offend anybody. A presidential sign on one side or the other could be offensive to somebody. Flags from different countries could be offensive to somebody. Keeping in mind that the American flag always goes on top. I want to throw that in there. It would be hard for me to tell. I don't want to impose on their free speech. I don't want to impose on their freedom. However, outright hate symbols or symbols that are generated just to cause chaos, yes, I can see that we may need to get involved. However, that's just a hard question because it is their property, it is their freedom of speech. So I would actually have to research that one a little bit more, and I would probably have to delve in to know a little bit more detail of the content of that question. And I apologize. I know that's not what the asker wanted to hear. I would just need a little bit more detail.
Thank you. Ms. Basu?
It's really not city council's prerogative to choose what people do put on their private property. So never to infringe on property owner rights or anything like that. When it does come to things that can be seen as offensive, of course, that's very suggestive. But, you know, we have to trust our department leadership to take care of those civil issues and trust the leadership that, you know, are in some cases that our citizens have voted on and approved of. We have to put trust in them. But something that we can do as leaders is always promote a sense of growth mindset and a sense of pride in our community. And that's by being visible to your community and showing them that you're proud in whatever it is that we're making Ottumwa to be. And the things on people's property can be a range of things, but never our prerogative to go to someone personally and say, hey, you cannot have this. But always being an example of what it looks like to be an upstanding citizen that values their property and values how other people sees their property and our community as well. So just being a good example sometimes does more than what words can do, because words are not always kind. Thank you.
And this is from Rick. If elected, what is your plan for increasing economic development and retail development in Ottumwa?
Mr. Damerville, you may begin.
Like I said before, the city of Ottumwa, GoPip, they're doing a fabulous job of bringing some great retail into town. I know TJ Maxx, what's the other one? Five Below. My fiance is ecstatic about having a TJ Maxx in this town, and I know a lot of other people are ecstatic about that because there's a lot of people that drive to other communities and frequent those businesses because we don't have those here. And like I said, they're doing a great job, and I would just go along and help them out with whatever I can about getting more of that kind of retail in town. I know we have a lot of people that come, if you drive through Walmart, Menards, the parking lots out there. I don't know if anybody ever looks at license plates, but I look at license plates, and I like to see other county license plates in our community shopping here and everything. I know there's a big thing about Target, wanting Target back here. Well, I thought the biggest mistake we made was moving Target to the south side. Target should have been left on the north side. You know, we should have figured out a way to get them to stay here and build a new store out north, and maybe collaborated with Hy-Vee and built 2 new stores out there together, you know, because I think Target would have survived in this town if it was on the north side, because a lot of people drove to Target to the north side. I lived on the south side. My parents worked at the north side Target. So.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Actually, I have a lot of experience in that area to bring economic growth. Like I said, I have plans where these big box businesses can work with small businesses. And what I would personally do is I know retail. I would approach companies. I would, you know what, as a city council member, if a retail shop wanted to come to town or a retail store wanted to come to town, I would want to meet them. I would want to get my tennis shoes muddy, showing them where the property is, telling them about the demographics of Ottumwa, telling them what they can make. You know, believe it or not, Ottumwa is a regional hub. We draw from many counties. At any given time in a Walmart store, especially the Ottumwa Walmart store, 40% of your license plates are from out of town. Now, they may be close from out of town, and then if you go up the street to different Walmarts, it's the same draw. So Ottumwa actually does have a fantastic retail culture right now. And I am not afraid to sit down at the table. I'm not afraid to get on the phone and say, hey, you need to come look at Ottumwa. Now, to address Target, we all love Target. Target actually pulled in $22 million a year, and they were a victim of their company. They were profitable here. The associates of that store were outstanding. Great service, on good relations with other businesses. I would actually like to see them come back as well. However, yes, I would want to say that I would want to be involved every step of the way. I want to meet with the realtors. I want to meet with the people who want to start the stores, invite them in, show them the counties. Don't just say, we got this many people. Bring them to town, put them in your car, show them around.
Thank you. Cyan?
I think this kind of goes back to one of the previous points that I made, in that we have to be strategic with the kind of businesses that we bring into our community when deciding, what do we want to offer to our community members? Not all developers will look at Ottumwa as a place to put their business. Some franchises have, specific regulations that they have to have in order to bring their business to our community. And so we need to look at how we can market our community to developers and different businesses that are looking for the demographics and size of our community. But economic growth is more than just bringing in other businesses. It's also investing in the businesses that we have now. As a local small business owner, I appreciate everyone's business. And I appreciate the small business incentives that we have and the efforts that we're making towards in our workforce. Because in order to have businesses, you have to have qualified workforces as well. And so there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to economic development, workforce, housing, and also marketing yourself to developers. There's there's just a lot of moving parts, and you have to consider all of those when you are creating a community that is special in a way that Ottumwa is, with all of our different demographics and the population that we have. So being very strategic in the kind of businesses that you bring in and the incentives that you provide for those that are already here.
Mr. Cavanis?
Well, I appreciate Mr. Hoffman's enthusiasm, and I got a place for him to start. Try the mall right now. I was there walking today for my health, and I talked to all 6 people that have businesses in the mall. And if that's not pathetic, that's something that needs to be addressed. However, on the other hand, that is owned by a large business, and sometimes you can't just drive those pegs in the wall and make them stay. They have a reason for doing what they're doing, no matter what it is. And you've got to figure out how to help them improve their viability in the community. I will work with and want to work with any company, any business that wants to come to our community. But I think the first thing the council needs to do is to work closely with economic development. Those folks got their ear to the stone. They know what's possible out there and who you should be visiting with or representing your city to. So it's important, I think, that we work from all facets of business, not just think about big business or little business, but work from all 4 sides, bringing them together.
Thank you. I believe we have time for one more question before our closing statements.
And this is from Kathy. If a taxpayer sends you an email, will you respond back in some way to show that you got the email? And I think we could include a telephone call or a letter as well.
Mr. Hoffman, you may begin.
Absolutely. My email, my phone number would always be open. You can't hold a position like this and expect people not to approach you. You need to be extremely approachable 24 hours a day. You need to be able to take those phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. So absolutely, I would respond. One of my actual pet peeves is when a citizen or anybody would come to a councilman or even somebody of leadership, they would draw them a map, meaning, well, you need to see this person. You need to see this person. No. If somebody comes and approaches you with a problem, where you gain their trust is you walk them through every step of that problem. You go with them through every step of that problem. You don't release them to somebody else without a follow-up or at least an outcome. That's how you gain the trust of the people. I worked with a lot of people for a lot of years. When they come to you with, number one, if somebody comes to you with a problem, they trust you. If you blow it, they'll never trust you again. and people are too important. The people of Ottumwa are too important. So my email, my phone, approachable. I would not leave anybody out in the middle of nowhere. I would walk through every step of the process. Can I promise you would get the answer you want in the end? No, but I promise I'd be there with you through the whole thing so that we could sort things out. So that's best I can tell you. I'm for everybody. So I would definitely be. I understand that this job, like I said, isn't just 4 meetings a week and then ignoring the rest. I understand.
Thank you. Ms. Boson?
Well, as some of you may assume, as a young person, I am very tech savvy. So I cannot stand when I have so many unread messages. So absolutely, if someone reaches out to me, I want to make sure that I'm communicating with them and getting back and getting a hold of them, answering phone calls, text messages, emails. We work for the community as leaders, and it's our obligation to work with them, to listen to them, to communicate with them. We've talked a lot tonight about being transparent with our community. To be transparent means to be a good communicator when people reach out to you. That's the best way to be transparent, is to have those conversations, especially if people are making the effort to reach out to you. It's only considerate to let them know that they've been heard, and to make sure that you're an approachable person. So absolutely, that's part of the job, is being a communicator, being open to your community, and letting them know that their voices matter, because truly we cannot run our city without the input from our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cavanis?
Well, I think it's important, as I mentioned earlier, economic development in our community is very important. Most businesses would approach the Economic Development or the Chamber of Commerce, one or the other, to air out their thoughts about maybe bringing their business to Ottumwa. The important thing is that the council has to work as a unit. We have to address all those things that are brought to us as a unit, not just one-on-one, but as a unit of 5 members of council representing the city of Ottumwa. We need to see what their needs are. We need to see if we can address them. Sometimes we can offer TIF, that's tax increment financing assistance. Sometimes we can't. But no matter what, we have to find out what their needs are and see if they fit with our community so that we can help them.
Thank you. Mr. Damerville?
So a few years ago, I had an issue in my neighborhood. I can't remember how many years ago, but I did email the mayor and all city council members about the issue. And I do remember the ones that did reply back to me, and I do remember the ones that did not reply back to me. And me being a small business owner also, and I do have a business Facebook page also. So I advertise a lot. And when people message me about some of my advertisement and stuff like that, I get back to them as soon as possible and answer their questions about what they're asking me. And another thing about it is that when it comes to my phone, I very rarely have an unanswered text message or phone call or anything like that. I've seen some people's phones where they have just tons of, like the little number up there, tons of messages there that aren't answered. And that drives me nuts. I want all my messages cleared out. I want to take care of everybody. My fiance will tell you that I'm a people pleaser. She gets on me about it sometimes because I get back to people and I give them the answers that I have. And I just like to get back to people. So thank you.
Thank you. I think we will begin to have closing statements, and I think we'll go in reverse order. Mr. Hoffman, you may begin.
Okay, I just wanted everybody to know, like I said before, the same way almost I wrapped up as last time. I just want to be a candidate that you trust. I want you to support me because you trust me. And I want you to honestly know I'm passionate about this town. I'm passionate about the citizens, and I'm passionate about its growth. So, like I said, I want you to support me because you trust me. You trust me to make decisions with honesty and integrity, even if it's a decision that may not be favorable to you or you may not like. At least I want you to know you can trust me and I would make it with honesty, integrity. And I also want you to know if I get elected and I take a position, I will never point back at somebody else and say it's their fault. I will never point in the future and say it's their fault. I accept the problems as they are. If I was elected, the minute I become elected, those problems become mine. Now it's time to be positive and go forward and work on building a team that will solve those problems and not dwelling in the past and not finger pointing and not, well, I wasn't here, I wasn't there, I wasn't here. No, I want to be part of a team that goes forward and grows Ottumwa. And thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Besu? Oh, sorry. You were more quick than I was. Mr. Damerville, we'll go this way.
Yep, okay. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming to this, everybody watching it on TV. I am a concerned citizen. I love Ottumwa. I've been here my whole life. I've grown up in many neighborhoods all over the community. I deal with many different people on an everyday basis. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm concerned about our streets. I'm concerned about our budget. I just want everything that I think most of the citizens in this town want. I want transparency with our local government, and I want to be able to inform people as a city council member and, just get things done, things that need to be done. The streets especially, they need a lot of work and we need to take care of them. And like I said, I appreciate all you showing up for tonight. And
Thank you. Mr. Cavanis?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for contributing their questions tonight, and thank you for listening to the answers that we've been able to provide. I'm always ready to talk about our city and listen to what people have to say and discuss possible solutions. I was a successful businessman in this community for over 40 years. Color Master and the Photo Shop were our business, which shows how our fiscal responsibility holds up when we can operate a business that had as much as 50 employees at one time. We are always looking for quality people on the council. And so I would tell you that I'm not going to base my campaign on the youth and inexperience of other people that are running for this seat. But I can tell you the voters should.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Besu?
Thank you again to everyone who showed up tonight. I hope that it's clear to you that I am dedicated to this community, dedicated to learning all the different facets of our community and continuing in our efforts to make Ottumwa grow. I am the prime example of the young person who stayed here and is raising their family here, has started a successful small business here, and a career here, is working with the families here in our community. It's a privilege to stand up here and represent all of those different facets in the community. I'm blessed to represent our diversity, and although I may be young, I am very educated, and I'm proud to stand up here and say that young people have a voice, that we are important in our community. We represent more than half of our community, and we should 100% be represented in the leadership here. I'm excited to hit the ground running and be that representative of Ottumwa. Thank you all for coming here tonight, and thank you for your questions. I hope you all have a blessed evening and a safe travel home. Thank you.
Thank you. The League of Women Voters would like to thank all of you for having come this evening, and especially to the candidates for the time and effort that they have spent seeking to serve the community of Ottumwa. Again, we'll probably not be able to vote at the auditor's office until they get their ballots. If that doesn't work out for you, remember November 7th is the day we want to be sure we've all taken care of our civic responsibilities. Thank you all for coming, and travel safely to your homes.